Hello folks, Todd Halleck here. It's been a minute since we last put a video up for you, but wanted to talk a little bit today about an important topic that can be a struggle for a lot of families. Now, oftentimes when people are calling into my office, it's them calling on behalf of themselves to get their own estate planning in motion. But it's not uncommon to have a child of someone call into the office concerned about their parents, that they aren't taking this seriously, that they are that they don't know what's been done, and how can they really have this conversation with their parents about their estate planning. So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. How can you have this sort of difficult conversation with your parents about their estate planning, how they've prepared their finances, how they've prepared for healthcare decisions in the event that they can't make those decisions themselves. So certainly we always have the one issue that we're dealing with, and that is what happens when someone passes away. But sometimes even more problematic is what happens if someone doesn't pass away, but they've become incapacitated to the point that they can't make their own choices regarding their finances or regarding their healthcare decisions. And so it's important to not just worry about the death side of things, but also worry about what happens while someone's alive. Also important is, how are those expenses related to healthcare going to be paid for? What kind of insurance is in place? Are they going to need to qualify for Medicaid? So there's a lot of big things that can go on as someone is reaching the latter stages of their life that can really impact not only them, but also their loved ones. So how do you have that conversation with your family, with your parents? And the first thing I would recommend is, don't try to go it alone. If you're an only child, certainly I guess that's the only way. But if you have siblings, I would encourage you, before you take off on your own, to have a meeting with your siblings and talk about the concerns that all of you have, and come up with a united plan as to how you want to approach this. This can be really crucial, not just in moving your parents forward with their planning, but also making sure that outside skirmishes don't break out amongst children who may view this as something of a power play, or a play to take control, or a play to get a greater inheritance. So make sure that you first, before you move to meeting with your parents or talking with your parents, make sure that you've tried to get together as a group of children to come to mom and dad united in your concern. And that's probably an important thing to remember, is that this should really be about them, not any of you. You want to be concerned about their situation, not your place in the whole plan. So make sure you're coming at it with the right attitude as well. So having that initial meeting with your siblings, having the right attitude, and then also remembering, as you approach your parents, that even though you may be, in your 50s like I am, or 40s or 60s or even older, they're still your parent, and that parent-child dynamic is still going to exist. And so you still want to honor that dynamic and not come in like everything and they're little children. I mean, none of us liked to be dealt with that way when we were younger, when we felt our parents were telling us you don't know anything, and they don't want to feel that way from their children at this stage of life. So try to approach it in a respectful air, where you're honoring that parent-child relationship, and not appearing to take a role that is inconsistent with that. But that being said, there are some important things to discuss, and I just usually recommend by starting out and saying, is there anything that we can do to help you make sure that your affairs are in order, to make sure that your important documents are in order? Do you have a financial advisor, an attorney, an accountant that you work with that we should be aware of, so that if something comes to pass, we would know who to contact? When's the last time you had your planning documents reviewed? If it's been any more than about 5 years, may be time for a checkup on your plan. So asking mom and dad that, when was the last time you had this reviewed? Don't need to necessarily get into the specifics about what the plan is. You just want to know that they've got their advisors, it's being reviewed regularly. If they want to then share that further with you as the conversation evolves, that's great. But initially, we just want to kind of break the ice that, in fact, the planning has been done and who's doing it. Does anyone know where your usernames and passwords are stored for important financial documents or online accounts, computers, things like that might have to be accessed? Have you given that location? Are you doing it, and have you given that information, or at least letting someone know where that information can be found when the time comes? What are you hoping to see with your health care if you're in a situation where you can't make those decisions, including the end of life decision? What do you want to see? Do you have a healthcare power of attorney? Do you have a living will? Do you have a do not resuscitate order? Do you have some other state form, like in Utah we have a POLST that deals with some of those issues? So have you done those? Have you met with your doctors and talked about that? And what do we need to know as your children about those decisions so that we can help make sure that those are enforced along the way? What happens, mom and dad, if you need to go into a nursing home or assisted living? Are you going to have enough resources to pay for that? Are we going to need to, or do we have insurance in place that can help with that? Or are you thinking we may need to rely on Medicaid? So what are the resources? How are you feeling about your financial resources? Do you need some help? Do you need some help, reviewing your statements to make sure that things are happening? Are you feeling comfortable still with that? So having that information discussed. What about organ donations? What about funeral arrangements? So those are some of the things that you can kind of talk to, and this may be a conversation that takes place over a period of weeks and months. It may not be that they open up to you right away about it, but it is important. It can be such a benefit in both making sure their wishes are honored and minimizing the amount of fees and costs that are incurred associated with the plan. So I can't encourage you enough to do what you need to do to have that conversation with your parents. This is just a brief discussion of some of the things and some ideas about how to approach that conversation. Recently read a great book by Cameron Huddleston called Mom and Dad, We Need to Talk, How to Have Essential Conversations with Your Parents About Their Finances. I'll drop a link in the notes on this video so that you can click through and purchase that if you're interested. But really, estate planning is not just an individual affair. It's a family affair, right? You as the parents, while you're the one creating the plan, your children are going to be the ones that have to live with that plan. So if you're the parents, I would encourage you to have that conversation with your children. If you're the children, I would encourage you to encourage your parents to have that conversation with you so that we minimize the surprises. It's always fun in the movies to see that darkened room and the attorney reading that will or that trust and surprising everybody with what the matriarch or patriarch of the family has decided to do with their fortune, but that is really just stuff for the movies. We don't want to ever see that in real life. And so have those critical conversations, ask those inspired questions, do it with an air of love and respect, and with the idea of promoting the benefit of all as opposed to any one person, and I think you'll come out all right. So hope this has been helpful to you.